Ladies and gentlemen, can I be honest with you for a second? My life is literally falling to pieces. My biological family is deteriorating from all around me, and I can't do a darn thing about it. So, in an attempt to sound as if I'm not creating a bunch of drama by saying this, I'm just going to tell you very bluntly what my mother told me when I was on the phone with her this afternoon. See, my mother has been together with my older cousin Daniel, who is my biological father's nephew, for the last decade. And on April 23rd, I believe, April 23rd of this year, my cousin Daniel was sleepwalking, meaning he was semi-conscious and walking at the same time. And then he tried to go down the basement and he fell down the stairs and he basically, his head met the wall and he ended up splitting his head wide open. So my mother and my cousin Daniel had to go to the hospital immediately. And she told me herself that if she had not discovered him falling down the stairs and injuring his head, 20 minutes later he would have died. So the doctors and surgeons fixed my older cousin Daniel's head up, put about a couple dozen stitches in it, or staples or whatever. And after that, they did some tests on him. And to my surprise, and I didn't know this prior to my mother calling me this afternoon, my cousin Daniel was so traumatically injured by this event, by this head injury that he sustained, that he would basically be reduced to walking with a cane or a walker, and he would have to experience daily seizures and short-term memory loss for at least until the end of this calendar year. Now, you know why I'm saying this? I'm saying this because it's just been confirmed to me. And I'm telling you pretty much my mother told me, just in a way that you people can understand. And the fact is, something like this is so common in our world today because so many other people end up experiencing similar injuries like this daily. So what that confirms in my mind is it's just a naturally occurring thing that happens to someone somewhere in the world every couple of minutes or so. Every minute, basically. And the reason why I brought up my cousin Daniel's incident from April 23rd is because it's important to me and I need to address this to you people, my social media audience. Now, I want you all to know one thing. I seem to have somewhat gotten over it, but I'm still extremely distraught right now. I'm still extremely, I'm extremely stressed out by this. And this comes not even 2 weeks after my sister ends up in a car accident by a texter or a drunk driver who totaled her car in the process, and she's still trying to recover from that. And she's still got bruises all over her body, and she still hurts a lot, but she's still recovering, or so she told me. So, folks, I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say right now, if this keeps happening to me, knowing that God's trying to tell me something, I might just have to lose my religion. I might just have to become an agnostic because I can't take much more of this. God's always trying to answer my prayers in His time. And I don't want to sound like I'm spitting in His face or anything because He created me, but God just randomly lets these bad things happen to send a message to me so that it can serve as a hurdle that I can jump over. But what if the hurdle is too high to jump over? And there is no other way but to jump over it. I mean, do I have to get some kind of a very tall 39.5-foot pole and vault over the hurdle myself? I mean, what do I do at this point? There's too much stuff going on in this life that I can't control, on top of all the other things that I'm associated with right now. And yet, people pressure me to work on their projects. They pressure me to be the best version of myself that I can be. But the fact is, there is no best version of myself that I can be. Because once you've lived in a group home for 3.5 years, and it's the wrong group home, meaning most of the people in it are so much more mentally disadvantaged than you yourself are, you're pretty much just broken for the rest of your life, beyond repair. You can't even be fixed. No psychiatrist can fix you. No medicine can fix you. Only God can. Because He fixes the irreparable. He fixes people that cannot be fixed. And that's the case with me. So I guess my best bet now is to just take God's word for it, to heed His call, and just, I don't know, tell His message to people in a way that everyone can understand, and try not to mistranslate it along the way, because I've been mistranslating His messages to me, these nocturnal messages that He sent directly to my conscious, and I've been mistranslating these messages for no apparent reason, and it's ended up costing me big here recently. And God's continuing to try to tell me that the message that I'm trying to send to others is not His message, that He wants me to send His message as only He Himself can. But I can't speak for God, because God can speak for Himself. I'm just here to be one of His messengers. I'm just here to be one of His believers, His devout followers, His faithful. That's what I was put on this earth for. And I was also put on this earth by God Himself, specifically in a religious family with 2 mentally ill parents, one of which died 12.5 years ago. And he was the only one in my family besides my grandmother that could understand me for me. Nobody else in my biological family could understand me for me. And one day after the next, more bad news comes to my attention. More messages that God's trying to tell me. More hurdles that God set for me and gave me the ability to jump over, even though I don't see that ability myself. It's esoteric. It's hidden. You can't see it. Except if you look deep inside you, then you can see it. But only from the inside can it be seen. So, I'm just going to conclude by saying this. If my suicidal tendencies weren't bad now, weren't bad back then, they probably are now. But my best bet is to just ignore them and continue functioning in this life without letting all these tendencies get the best of me. You know? So that's what I'm going to have to do. I don't have a choice. There is no other alternative. I have to start listening to God just like I've always been doing. Except I have to listen to Him on a much bigger level now, because God is essentially trying to tell me something, and for some reason, in His eyes, I'm not listening to Him. So I'm going to have to start listening, not just with my ears and my eyes, but with my heart as well. So, but like I said, though, if this keeps going on, in addition to whatever's going on right now in my adopted family, if all this keeps persisting, I'm probably going to have to do something extremely drastic. Something I previously didn't have the balls to do before. But I'm not going to tell you people what it is, because you don't need to know. Because if you did know about it, you'd probably go off on me and say, no, don't do this. If people catch you doing this, you're going to end up in an institution for the rest of your life. Screw that. I was born insane. I shall die insane. And the same can be said for pretty much everyone else that walks this uninhabitable earth. So the way I see it, life as I know it never began. Because deep inside, I'm a stillborn. Meanwhile, on the outside, I seem perfectly fine, but then people that I know personally look at my inner demons as I speak to them personally, and they don't want to hear it. And they insist that I tell it to the psychiatrist when I go to see her. But the last 2 times I tried to see my psychiatrist for a follow-up, she no-showed. So my next appointment is Wednesday. My next rescheduled appointment, I should say. And this is the second time that my appointment with my psychologist had to be rescheduled, because the previous 2 times she no-showed. So if she no-shows on Wednesday when I come to Daymark, then that confirms in my mind that I can't even trust them. And you know who I'm referring to. So I'm just going to make it clear right now. I am a disturbed man, and I'm going through a quarter-life crisis. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. If you don't want to believe it, you don't have to believe it. If you don't want to hear about it, then put some earplugs on and cover your ears as much as you can. Because what I've just told you now is the truth. It's a truth that I've come to accept personally. And despite my being in the 1 percentile of the financial food chain, I still barely get by on what little I have. See, whatever I get pays for me to have a roof over my head. That's been the case all my life. And you know what? I'm used to it now, so I don't mind. I don't mind that the government wants to enslave me for the rest of my life by keeping me in financial purgatory, by keeping me in a financial inferno, in the ninth circle of that inferno specifically. I don't mind that because I already know that that's what they're doing to me and everyone else that's of my illness. So I knew that a long time ago, and I still know it now. So nothing has changed. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. So thank you. And to all you parents out there, specifically to all the male parents, to all the fathers, I wish you personally a very heartfelt rest of your Father's Day. Thank you for your time. I'm not being emotional about it. And have a nice day.